friend of mine told me a story once about what happened the last time a king tide affected his tiny island of Palau. His twin brother and his brother's wife and child were caught in a struggle for survival as the tidal waters rushed in and swallowed up the land all around them. They ran for their lives. His brother was able to secure his wife and child in an area away from the rising waters, but he could not go with them. There simply wasn't enough room. And so, not knowing whether he would ever see them again, he left them there and stayed outside to struggle for his own life. Luckily, they were all able to survive. But this story stuck with me because it demonstrated so graphically that it's those who are least responsible for the climate crisis that are suffering the most from its impacts. I am a climate change negotiator for island countries, and I'm here to ask you the fundamental question: why aren't you afraid? As global emissions increase, sea levels rise, glaciers melt, oceans warm, we wake up to news about superstorms hitting the same coastline 2 at a time. We wake up to news about drought happening everywhere. We wake up to news about millions of acres of forests going up in flames, releasing so much smoke and ash into the atmosphere that it blocks out the sun. Why aren't you afraid? Because it seems as though the crisis that is fueling all of these events is nothing but a footnote in our collective consciousness. Make no mistake, this is not about saving the planet. This is first and foremost about saving ourselves. I am certainly afraid. I entered the global climate negotiation process as a young Black woman. I would walk into rooms knowing full well that because I spoke for the small, the vulnerable, the marginalized, most in those rooms were not interested in anything I had to say, but I had the conviction that I would have to say it anyway. Every single time I opened my mouth, I was afraid. 10 years later, and not much has changed. There's an African proverb that goes, your greatest hope is your greatest fear. My greatest hope is that I can use my voice to encourage others to care about the climate crisis. But this is all wrapped up in my fear of fora like these, where I have to stand before you and show you just how afraid I am. Yet here I am. Climate change is here, and it will be with all of us for the rest of all of our lives. But in this moment, right now, there are still things that we can do, and I would like to share 3 of them with you. First of all, get in the know about this crisis. We cannot act on what we do not understand. Second of all, we need to eat less meat. Coupled with the emissions that these animals emit themselves, the emissions from land clearing for animal production produces more greenhouse gas emissions than the entire global transportation sector combined. Planes, trains, automobiles, you name it. And lastly, we need to hold our elected officials accountable. The regulations they make and do not make matter. They impact the air we breathe, the quality of water we drink, the energy available to us, and the cost of that energy. And more importantly, the likelihood that our children, our grandchildren, generations that are here, generations to come, will inherit a livable planet. The late Chadwick Boseman said, purpose is the essential element of you. It is the reason why you are here on this planet at this particular time in history. At this particular time in history, human civilization is facing its greatest threat. I invite you to embrace the fear and find your purpose in helping to address it.